Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2021 release Willy's Wonderland, and because it's a new release, it's available on Hulu, by the way, when I watch this and am reviewing it. This will be no spoilers because it is from 2021. If people want to see it, I don't want to spoil real events, but I will be honest, as far as reviews go, I don't really need to have an in-depth review for this one anyway because it's a what you see is what you get type of film. There's not a whole lot extra to it. But I think anyone who saw the trailer, like, this is kind of what you expected. It's what I expected from the film. It's basically a vehicle to get the horror crowd more Nick Cage in horror films, with some fun stuff added. I will say that it surprised me a little bit in the kind of backstory that it lays down, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So, directed by Kevin Lewis, who's done such films as The Method, Downward Angel, Malibu Spring Break, and The Drop. That's not all the films, that's just a sampling of a few. I haven't seen any of them. Written by G.O. Parsons, who has only written one thing, which is one episode of a Shark Week documentary series. I mean, this isn't a bad place to start script wise. I mean, it's not like a great script or anything. Obviously, this film is what it is because of Nicolas Cage and Nicolas Cage's ability to improvise and to deliver a performance. Not even deliver lines. There are no spoken lines from Cage in this film, but he doesn't need them. To be honest, he really doesn't need them because he's a seasoned physical actor and he makes the most of the role. So honestly, I would say where there could be some actors where it would be problematic that they don't have any lines, it works for Nick Cage in this and for the premise of the film. Like, you don't need a whole lot. Nobody's expecting a great story going on here with a wonderful backstory. Um, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and it's still fun. That's what the film's about. At the end of the day, it's fun. The director stated that this film is supposed to be a Pale Rider versus Killer Clowns from Outer Space film. It makes sense when you hear that and you see the film. That definitely makes sense. I get that. It's also funny because the comparison to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Grant Kramer, who was in the original Killer Clowns from Outer Space, was one of the producers on this film, along with 17 other people, including Nicolas Cage, who apparently was very protective of this project and tried to like kind of shepherd it all the way through, which is great. Good on him. He got it made, and like I said, it's fun. It's a solid enough film. So quick synopsis, really. It's about a town that has like an old place, kind of like arcade kids' birthday party celebration thing, a la something like Chuck E. Cheese, with, complete with the really creepy looking animatronics. But those animatronics happen to have life brought to them and they kill. So that's the main premise. You know that if you've already seen the trailer. It doesn't get too deep after that, but there is a backstory, like I said, and it's kind of surprising that the backstory is actually kind of interesting and a good backstory. I think, though, after they introduce that, they kind of try a little bit too hard to go further with story outside of Nicolas Cage's character, and it's just not needed. It's just not necessary. More than anything, it slows the film down, it messes with the pacing, and it just distracts people from basically what they're there for, is to just see Nicolas Cage fight these animatronic baddies. I understand why you need to inject other characters into it because you need more of a body count. But to be honest, I just felt like you didn't need any of those characters. They didn't add anything really. Sure, people want more of a body count, but honestly, the kills weren't that great. The Nicolas Cage fighting the animatronics is great. The animatronics killing people is not great. I do think that it would have been great if they would have gone a little bit heavier on the gore, a little bit more on the practical effects viscera aspect of any sort of other kills that go on in the film. I would have really liked to see that. You really could have taken the fun and excitement to that next level. Also, you probably would have solved some more of the pacing issues if you could have done that. This film's under an hour and a half, but it feels longer than that just because it starts really well and it has a really good pace to it, but once it gets away from the just Nicolas Cage stuff for the most part, and you're, trying to work on other characters, it just starts to fall apart, and it starts to just feel like you're wasting time, just to hit a longer runtime and to inject these characters into the story that A, are one-dimensional, B, nobody cares about, and C, aren't really going to matter at the end of the day. So, I don't know. I just felt like it should have been edited way down. This is kind of like a 45-minute movie about stretched to a little bit under an hour and a half, but it was still fun, worth watching in my opinion. It is ridiculous from the start, but has this kind of funness feel to it. And that comes through from A, Nicolas Cage's performance, B, the cinematography and directing. Like, they do some really fun, kind of cool shots that make it feel fun and engaging. And also the music. The music is well picked and really does help kind of inject more fun into the film. Cage's character, like I said, does not talk. I thought that was totally fine. The setup doesn't take too much time, and then you start to get that kind of danger aspect creeping in, which obviously the danger being those animatronic killers, which, by the way, the design of them were pretty good. For obviously not having a high budget, you can tell this is a lower budget affair. I thought the animatronics looked good enough. They look menacing. They're interesting. Execution was totally fine. I was down with it. Once the action starts, you see what you're in for, and it's Nick Cage on a beatdown warpath. Does that sound fun? It is fun. Those aspects of it, like I said, when they get away from the Nick Cage portions, it's not so fun. But all the Nick Cage stuff, definitely fun. Especially because you just kind of feel like you want to see where he's going next, what he's going to do next. Especially if you've seen stuff like Mandy, where there can just be this random kind of like freak out with him in his underwear in the bathroom. That doesn't happen in this, but there is kind of its own moment that's kind of like that in a sense. And from what I read, Nicolas Cage improvised that. So I do feel like there's probably a decent amount of Nick Cage improv. This kind of has his brand all over it, and that's a good thing. That's really what does sell the film, in my opinion. Yeah, like I said, the backstory, I was surprised that it was an interesting, inspired concept. But then when they tried to kind of expand upon it even more with other characters, it just kind of started to fall apart a little bit. I think they could have just introduced the backstory to why things are going on the way they are and kind of then let Nicolas Cage go from there and keep everyone else out of it. For the most part. Yeah, there's an aspect to the plot that really doesn't need to be there. It really just kind of wastes time. And you'll know what I mean when it comes to the end of the film, because the very ending, it's Nick Cage and there's another character as well, and you're just kind of like, that didn't really amount to anything, this other character. It's why? Once again, it just makes it feel like it's just in there to stretch runtime. So, I don't know. But basically, that's all I have to say about this. This isn't a long review because it's a pretty simplistic film, but that's, it seems like that's what it was meant to be. Like I said, it is fun. This is for the Nick Cage fan. This is for the person who's loved everything that Nick Cage, or most of the things that Nick Cage has done in horror recently, and just wants more of it. This will satisfy that need. Definitely. And I'm down with it. So, out of 5 stars with half stars in play, did I have a solid time with it? Yes, but I can't give it any more than 2.5 stars. So I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give it the 2.5 stars. I liked it enough. I would say go ahead, make sure you see it and recommend it to friends if they're Nick Cage fans. That's a big thing. If you don't like Nick Cage at all, this is definitely not the film for you. You will definitely need to steer clear. If you're looking for a horror film that has good story to it, that has a lot of engaging story and kind of like things continually develop, this is not for you. If you like films that have rich, interesting characters, this is also not for you. Like I said before, Nick Cage on a beatdown warpath. Is that what you want in a film, and that's basically all you want in a film? This is for you then. But anyway, let's talk in the comments. Do you feel differently about this? I'm totally open to hearing that. Go ahead and put the comments down there. We can do spoilers in the comments too. That is fine. So go ahead and do that. Also, do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe if you are not already. If you are, thank you very much. If you're not, it is quick, it is painless, it costs you no money, and it motivates me. Every time I get a new subscriber, I see that. I actually look at who the subscriber is. I mentally say, thank you to this person. That is awesome. And it keeps me motivated because I'm seeing more people kind of joining this nerdy horror community I'm trying to build here. And it's awesome. I mean, it's another person who will see my stuff and potentially enjoy what I'm doing. It's another person who will potentially comment and we can have a back and forth about nerdy horror stuff, because in my personal life, I can't really talk to that many people who live near me about horror. Not a lot of people into it. But anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out, and until next time, keep it brutal.